Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates in North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot and so much more. Welcome to the show tonight. This is going to be a great Sunday. We're going to be joined tonight by Reverend Michael Carter. As you remember, last time he was here, it was totally awesome. We got into talking about the whole spirituality aspect of this phenomenon and how things connect and interconnect. We're going to be doing more of that tonight. So, definitely lace your boots up and get ready and put on your, break out your notepad and maybe even jot some of these things down. Regardless on what, religious background you may come from, just understanding why this thing is here and why we're going through what we're going through and have we gone through this thing before, right? The history I've always said is so important to what it is that the fields that we're navigating. And, this is all about absorbing information together and trying to build this puzzle, for our descendants down the line. So I think we will be making more moves on getting that needle moved tonight. So definitely want to thank you guys for coming on in. It is Sunday after hours, so it means you're wrapping up your weekend, getting ready for a wonderful work week. We're going to manifest a beautiful work week for you. So we're going to put that energy out there. And when we talk again on next Saturday, you're going to say how fantastic the week was. And I can count on that. So with that being said, let me go ahead and take a look at our medal positions tonight, right? Courtesy of Race Fan. And looks like we have Race Fan with the gold tonight. We have Deb from Sacramento with that silver, and Dino Bravo Fan with the bronze. So congratulations, guys. Thank you for coming on in tonight. And let's see who else decided to join us early here in the chat. Let me jump back to the beginning and see who we have. All right. Yep. So as we mentioned before, we had Deb from Sac in here. Welcome, Deb. Thanks for coming on in. We have Race fan, as we said, and Dino Bravo fan. So thank you all for coming in. Also, Mothman stepped in saying greetings all with the horn emoji, alien head emoji, and the horn emoji. We love it. Appreciate you coming on in, Mothman. Who else do we have? We have Roger Murray dropping some more knowledge on us real quick here. March 22nd, 1989, 35th anniversary of Bob Lazar and the late, great John Lear arrested Area 51 security guards trespassing, then released the next day. And you know, our guy, the legend Jim Goodall, could definitely let us know about that. So if I'd have knew, maybe we'll just have him in for that anniversary, right? We might as well. He tells the story the best, and who else? Who else could we hear it from other than Mister the Legend, the Mister Jim Goodall? Thanks for coming on in, Roger Murray. Thanks for that knowledge drop. Who else do we have here? Looks like we do have Miss Catherine stepping on in here saying hello all with the wavy hand emojis. Hey, Miss Catherine, thanks for coming in tonight. Let's see, who else do we have in here? Okay. Audacious Amber. All right. Audacious Amber saying, hey, thank you for coming on in, Audacious Amber. We appreciate you coming on into the after hours tonight. Who else do we have here? Bar Madison. Bar Madison with the X. Okay, okay. Like that. Seems like maybe a new name, Bar Madison. Thank you for coming on in. If you are a new name, we'd appreciate you considering coming back, maybe hitting that subscribe button. And yeah, we do this 7 days a week here at Space Out Radio. So there's always something going on for your viewing pleasure. Who else do we have in tonight? We have Brown Dwarf stepped in the building saying good evening, Brown Dwarf. Thank you for coming on in. We have JS.CO77. Thank you for coming on in, JSCO77. We do appreciate you showing up tonight. All right, and we do have Aloha Dave stepping in. Saludos a todos de Mexico, which we learned yesterday was greetings to everyone from Mexico. Thank you for coming on in, Aloha Dave. Let's see. All right, we have Speed Romans saying good energy. Yes. I like that, Speed Romans. You were in the right place, and to speak about good energy. This is a place where good energy is in abundance, and we share it back and forth here. We put it out there in the universe for everyone else. So you're on the right path. I do appreciate you coming on in, Speed Romans. Who else do we have here? Harold Sampson saying, Reverend Carter, a brother. Okay, yes. Reverend Carter will be stepping in the building, joining us tonight, and filling some holes for you. I'm hoping, you know what I mean? So I think this is definitely something we all could use to try to look at the deeper meaning of what it is we're going through. So you came at the right time. All right. Nalacious saying, I made it. Yes, you did, Nalacious. It's going to be an awesome show tonight. We do appreciate you coming on in. And let's see, who else do we have? Let's see, we got JSCO, we got Harlan. Looks like we have Wildberry Candy Co. Good evening, loves. I hope you all had an absolutely amazing weekend. Definitely, thank you for coming on in, Wildberry Candy Co. I hope everyone had an awesome weekend as well. At least we can finish it off awesome if it wasn't awesome. But hopefully if it was awesome, we could just make it more awesome with this show tonight. So I guess we'll see what happens, right? You're definitely in the right place, though. Thanks for coming on in. We got Joe Monk stepping in saying, Tim, hey, Joe Monk, thanks for showing up tonight. We appreciate you coming through to the after hours and getting it in. Right, we got Little Cam 51 stepping on over from Twitch. We appreciate you, Little Cam 51. saying hashtag YOLO, you only live once. That's what's up. I like that. It's true. I mean, as far as we know, right? We only live once. So I guess maybe we can even talk about that tonight, right? Yeah. Let's see. Who else do we have? We have Cosmic Joe Chronicles saying, "You rock, Rob G." Appreciate you, Cosmic Joe Chronicles. You rock as well, which is why I'm glad that you showed up tonight for the show so we can go ahead and get this thing going. So appreciate you, Cosmic Joe Chronicles. Let's see, who else do we have here? Going down the list here. Yep, Rafin stepped in the building. Hey, Rafin, saying hi, Rob G in chat room. Everybody wave to Rafin. All right, we got Brandon Coast. Rob G's bandana looking like you're prepping for war. Okay. I can see that. I can get that, and I can apply that. And yes, it kind of feels like we are all prepping ourselves for war. Spiritual war, I don't know. A war, humanity versus everyone else, right? Who knows? Potentially, we are prepping for war. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. But thank you for coming on in, Brandon Coast. We appreciate you. And yeah, I forgot, right? Wildberry Candy Co. Yes, saying happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. Thanks for reminding me, Wildberry Candy Co. Yep, thanks for coming in. Let's see, who else do we have here? Okay, Mark Eddy saying hi, Rob, Michael, okay, Howies, okay, and Roomies. Thank you for coming on in, Mark Eddy. We do appreciate you. Let's see, who else do we have? We have Anna Bowline. Anna Bowline saying, evening, everyone. Thank you for coming on in, Anna. We do appreciate you showing up tonight. We have Gory Tiger. Gory Tiger saying, what's up? What's up, Gory Tiger? Thanks for showing up tonight. Let's get this thing going, right? Yeah, let's get it going on tonight and see where the night takes us. Let's see. Who else do we got in here? We do have Raz Taz. Raz Taz, thank you so much for coming on in. Appreciate you showing up here tonight. And let's see. Pancho Zork. Pancho Zork saying hi. Hello, Pancho Zork. Right back at you. Thank you for coming on in. Let's see. Who else do we got coming on into the after hours tonight? Looks like we do have Paul Holland. Paul Holland, thank you so much for coming on in, saying hi all. Appreciate you showing up here tonight. Doug Shelby saying, hey everybody, I'm here finally. Captain Rob G. Thank you for showing up, Doug Shelby. We do appreciate you, sir. Let's get this thing going. Let's see, who else do we have? Further down the list, we're getting there, almost there. Let's see. Oh, my guy, my buddy, Tom King. Hey, Tom King, Mr. Phoenix Lights. Long time no see, buddy. We have to catch up, Tom King. Stepping in the building. This gentleman filmed the Phoenix Lights, man. Can you believe that? We just talked about the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights, and Tom must have felt me talking about him because he is here tonight, and we do appreciate you coming on in, Tom. Legend in the game right there, and we do appreciate you coming in. We shall talk soon, Mr. King. We shall talk soon. Let's see, who else do we have here? Who else do we get on our list here? I think we are caught up, are we? Let me see. Okay. Paramarv. Okay, Paramarv snuck in the building at the last minute there. Thank you so much for coming on in, Paramarv. Yeah, a lot of great stuff going on. Like I said, since Tom is in the building, our guy Roger Murray did let us know about the anniversary of the Phoenix Lights, and so it's been what that was 1997. We're looking at 27 years. Yeah, yeah, 20 27 years. Okay. 27 years since the Phoenix Lights. And once again, just like I said the other day, should be definitely considered one of those White House on or UFO on the White House lawn moments. One of those ones in the book that you really can't deny when it comes to this confirmation process. Um, very important one there. So, with that being said, definitely want to welcome everybody to come on in. Yep, Mike Rivers, longest intro ever. You got to get everybody, man. Can't leave anyone out, including you. So you are the final name that we're calling out tonight, Mike Rivers. Thank you so much for coming on in. We have a wonderful guest with us tonight. We have Reverend Michael Carter, and we're going to bring him in right here, right now, because we were getting into some good stuff last time he was here, and we just had to make sure that we were going to continue the conversation, which we're going to go ahead and do tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and bring on our guest of the night, Reverend Michael J. Carter. How you doing, Reverend?
Hey, brother. I'm past my bedtime, brother. I just want you to know that. You keep me up, but I love being here. And thanks for everybody. Mark, thank you. It's always good to know you're in the house. And I just want to thank everybody for spending their evening.
Definitely, and we do appreciate you bringing what it is you bring to the conversation. Like we talked last time, and we got into it. And I asked the question because I was feeling that this whole conversation has been shifting towards people are mentioning the spiritual side of it. We talked about that
Yeah.
on the last show. Where we left off is we wanted to kind of get into talking about or referencing the phenomena as it pertains to historical mentions in the Bible. And, I know you have some of, expertise there, obviously being a reverend, knowing the scripture. I'll say, be the first one to say, I'm not super well versed in the scripture. I know of some of the entries and
You don't have to be.
kind of leaning on you for that tonight and hoping
Yeah,
that we can
you
learn
don't have
from
to.
you tonight.
Yeah. Well, I want to start off by saying that once you um, once you acknowledge, once we acknowledge that we live in a populated universe, then it's inescapable that the way you look at God or non-God or whether you don't believe, it has to change. And I get um, many people who, after a podcast or after a show or something, people will reach out and they will say, can I still hold my religious faith and still believe in a populated universe? And my answer is, of course you can, because before these monotheistic religions came about, our ancestors already knew about this. When we look at the Old Testament, when we look at the New Testament, when we look at the Quran, um, and other texts, I mean, and other oral traditions from our Native American brothers and sisters in Africa, in Norway, they believed in a populated universe. And so when we look at our scriptures, what we're looking at is an invasion. That's what we would call it today. When we look at the Hindu scriptures, when they talk about the Vimanas, the flying machines, when our Native American brothers and sisters, First Nation people, are talking about star people and the star nations, when we look at the Mayan and the Popol Vuh, and they're talking about the gods Quetzalcoatl and the other gods that they were worshiping, we're talking about an invasion where Earth was invaded. these beings took over certain parts of the earth, human beings, and they warred among themselves. And human beings got caught up into that. We call them the Elohim, the Nephilim, the Anunnaki. In Greek mythology, they're called the Titans. They're these giants. And they're fighting one another. They get drunk. They make love. They are jealous. There's some of them who are very helpful to human beings. So we don't want to just paint a broad brush. Some of them are hybrids. When we look at the book of Enoch, when we have this mentioned in Genesis. So some of them wanted to keep us so ignorant we didn't know we were naked. When we look at the Garden of Eden, when we look at the Mesopotamian and the Akkadian, the Babylonian texts, some of them come to help, as in Daniel 10, when he's in the lion's den. They help break Peter out of prison. In Acts 10, they comfort Paul on the way to Caesar, where he eventually loses his life. And so we have this these different levels of these beings, and they're all here on the planet. Some of them teach us astronomy, astrology. We look at the book of Enoch. They were cohabitating. They had wives. So it wasn't always wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We have in Genesis where these beings are not only, they're eating all the food of the human beings, and then they start eating the human beings, and they carry on. And so there's all these different layers of stories in our sacred literature and in oral traditions of our brothers and sisters on this planet that we have been occupied, and we could argue that we still are.
Yeah, pretty awesome there. You mentioned the book of Enoch, and for a base level person like myself, what are we talking about when we say book of Enoch? Is this found within the Bible, or
No,
is
it was
this one?
taken. No, I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish
No,
your
you
thought.
fine. No, I was gonna
I
say,
just,
is this in the Bible, or was this from an outside source?
it was taken out of the Bible. Well, it didn't make the canon. Certain books made the canon and some didn't, which is a political act. Um, the Book of Enoch was found in Ethiopia. You have to have a Book of Enoch. You must have the Book of Enoch, and it's mentioned. Um, Enoch is mentioned in Genesis, but the writer, when you read it, he just makes a brief comment. It's almost as if he expects his readers to know this story. But he mentions the book of Enoch. And here we have what we would call an experiencer. Some would call it an abduction. But Enoch was around 365 years old, we're told in the book of Genesis, when he was just taken away, that he walked with God. He was righteous. So, okay, we know that the word Elohim should be there, not God singular. So he walked with the Elohim and they took him. He was a scribe. And he talks about in depth Genesis 6, which says that the sons of God, those who came down, saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them, and they took them as wives, and they had children. So we're not talking about genetic manipulation, which we could be talking about with Mary and Miriam, Jesus's mom. We're talking about that. So there must be, that there's something about these beings that we can mate with them. So they must be similar to us. There's got to be some chromosomes or something that go on where they can mate with Earth women. And they had a hybrid race of giants. They had 6 digits. And they were men of renown, the Bible tells us, okay? And they've been all through history. In Hebrew, they're the Nephilim. In the Babylonian, Akkadian culture, Mesopotamia, where Genesis is using those stories, they're called the Anu, the Anunnaki, talking about the same beings. And so they create a hybrid race. They create a hybrid race of giants. Now, Enoch, who is looking at life from a certain lens, he says these beings were evil. 200 of them came down. He gives some of the names of some of them, and he calls them fallen because they go against the I would call it a prime directive. You're not supposed to fraternize with the natives. And we see it in wars, right? We see it in Vietnam. We saw it in Korea. You go to war and you wind up falling in love, and maybe you have some children, and that's not what, usually that's frowned upon. That's not supposed to be what you're doing here. Keep your eye on the prize. But it happens. And some of these beings went crazy, as we read about in Genesis. But some of them, when you read in Enoch, there seems to be a cultural exchange. There seems to be a cultural exchange. And what I mean by that is they taught human beings astronomy, astrology, how to work with crystals, how to work with cosmetics. So it wasn't just this wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I'm sure it was with some of them, but there seems to be some type of exchange here because they cohabitated with them. So they were living here. They were living here. Taught them how to make defensive weapons and offensive weapons. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, Enoch says that this is all wrong, and it probably was, because they did fraternize. And so some of them were destroyed. Some of them were hidden underground. Some of them went underground. Some of these beings probably went underground during the flood. Mm-hmm. Some of them could probably still be underground today. When we hear stories about experience saying, that they're underground, I'm not just talking about bases, but I'm talking about some of these beings are isolated from humanity. But Enoch says that they were cast down, they were exiled because they broke that rule again, which I'm not saying they say this, it was a prime directive. Maybe you were not supposed to get that close with earthlings. But when we read the story, when we read about Zeus, Zeus had two sons by a woman. He abducted an earth woman, had two sons, I think three sons, but her name was Europa. Okay, and right. So the whole continent of Europe is named after this woman in Greek mythology who Zeus took for himself and had children from. Isn't that interesting? The whole continent is named after this story, after this myth.
Right.
So all of these stories have to have some truth to them. They have to. This collective memory of our ancestors when the earth was occupied by who we would call today extraterrestrials. They walked among us. And the remnants of that we still feel today in our government, in our economics, in our foreign policy, obviously in our religious life. And it's difficult to wrap your mind around because it seems like everything we were taught has been a lie. So anyway, the Book of Enoch, I'm rambling, is you must have this for your own research. And he goes into quite, some great detail about these beings and what they did when they were on the earth.
Now you mentioned the Anunnaki, and I know a little bit about them. So this is something that predates the Bible, then, right? I guess these are some of the original writings. Okay.
Yeah. They do. He calls them the Watchers, and I'll get to that. There's a wonderful book you want to have. It's called the Apocryphal Old Testament. These are other books that were not added to the canon, and they go into great depth. The Book of Enoch is in here, but they also are referred to as the Watchers, and it goes into more detail than the Bible. Yes,
Okay.
Brother G. The Book of Genesis is based on the Mesopotamian text of Acadia, Babylon, and they talk about Enki and Enlil, who Zechariah Sitchin talks about, and they had no problem talking about. They were not embarrassed by it, as were not the Hindus talking about the Vimanas and their flying machines. They weren't making them God stories. They were just talking about these beings. They weren't talking about an omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent God. They were talking about these beings who came here and lived among us. We start getting into God stories when the ancient Hebrews start talking about this. And we'll go into that, I'm sure, in the time that we have. But a lot of people leave religion. They left religion because they said, I can't reconcile this God of the Bible with my own moral compass. I mean, this guy is committing genocide. He's having men, women, and children killed. He wants to drown everybody and start all over. I don't get into a deity like that either. Definitely the different entity than what Jesus is talking about thousands of years later. But when we go into the mistranslation that God is that Zechariah Stitchin standing on his shoulders, a lot of people use Zechariah's Mr. Stitchin's work, but they don't give him credit. But when we translate Elohim as plural instead of singular, we start to see that this is not a God. This is a person from somewhere else, the Elohim, the ones who came down. The powerful ones is the root word. You don't have to know Hebrew. All you have to do is remember that wherever you see the word Lord or God, that is usually translated as the root word is the powerful ones, but it's Elohim, then you get it that this is not a loving, forgiving, merciful, joyous God. This is a warrior entity from somewhere else. And that changes because you can't go back to reading the Bible the same way. The idea of God is in the Old Testament. It's in there. But I would tell you from start to finish, we are talking about today. Our ancestors didn't have words for it. And the technology was overwhelming. But we would say this is an invasion. And our ancestors are talking about beings from elsewhere who are technologically awe-inspiring. And they were trying to tell us about covert government, about colonization, about having us paying, praying, and obeying. And they were trying to navigate that because what could they do? These beings were gods.
Right.
Or godlike.
How far is this going back? So, I mean, obviously, starting with the Sumerian tablets, the Emerald tablets, is that what they are? Are those the same
They're
thing?
mentioned.
Okay.
They're mentioned there. Yeah, this goes back to prehistory. This goes back to prehistory. So what date can you give? Because civilizations have risen and fallen. I've been studying Plato lately, and Plato believed in a God, but he didn't believe in God, a human, an anthropomorphic God. He believed in what we talk about today, more quantum physics, that there was this intelligence, and we all come from that intelligence, that we live in a fractalized universe. And so we are parts of that intelligence, and we go back to that intelligence because he believed in reincarnation and what have you. But he also said he talked about the book Atlantis. He talked about Atlantis. And he said he got his information from another Greek scholar who got his information from a high priest from Egypt who talked about the continent of Atlantis. He talks about it in his books, Timaeus and Critias. And he talked about cycles, and that every 5,000 years, every 6,000 years, there is an extinction level event, a flood, maybe a meteor hits us, and that great civilizations like Atlantis have come and gone. There was Atlantis. Some people talk about Lemuria. But Plato said that every 5,000 years, this happens and humankind starts all over again. We go to ground zero and we could be living in one of these cycles now. And he talks about these beings who come down and kind of jumpstart us. We see it in Genesis. When we read Genesis, one of the first things you notice is that the earth is already here. It's not created, it's already here. It's void. And so then the waters are being separated, right? You got from the dry land. So that sounds like terraforming to me, that you separate the salt water from the fresh water. You separate the dry land from so it seems like there's already been some type of event that has happened. And then you have the sons of God who come down. And so you have this hybridization going on with them mating with, but something has already happened in Genesis. And so these beings come down. And so I was trying to hook that up with Plato, who says there's always a cataclysm. So there perhaps was more than one flood, but all these civilizations remember it. Whether you're in Japan, whether you're in the Mesopotamian era, whether you're in the Genesis, the book, something had happened and we had to reboot and start all over again. If you go into Genesis 11, when we talk about, for instance, the Tower of Babel, and Zechariah Sitchin talks about this. Of course, we have it translated as this great high-rise building. That they're building a tower up to heaven. That doesn't make sense. This is not housing. This is not about Section 8 or high-rise buildings. Zechariah Sitchin calls it, they were building a Shem, which is in Hebrew a rocket ship. But whatever it was, we must have progressed technologically to be able to build this. Whatever it was, whether you say, well, Michael, Zechariah is a little far out, and okay, whether you say it was a building or was a launch pad for a ship, the gods say, look at these people, they're out of hand. If they do this, there's nothing they won't be able to do. We need to stop this. I'm paraphrasing, but you can go read the story. So whatever it was threatening enough to the gods, or as they say in the Bible, the Lord, who says, and you have to say, well, who's he talking to? We need to stop this. These people are out of hand. And so what do? Of course, they destroy it, but they go down and meddle with the languages so we can't communicate with each other. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
So everything that we understand is under God, right? Everything God is on top, everything is beneath. So is that how these extraterrestrials, is that when they're referenced in like the Sumerian writings, are they referenced as that, as something that's under God, or how are they looked at? What are they looked at like?
Well, you want to be careful with the word God. If you're saying gods, it has to be plural. Because again, there's no really talk about, there is no Hebrew word for a being that is omnipresent, omniscient. There's not even a word for that. Elohim is the oldest Hebrew word in the Bible. But it's a great question because they served as judges, they served as high priests, they served as rulers. When these beings came, and some of them kind of jump-started civilization. Asherah is talked about in the Bible, a female who's supposed to be the consort of Yahweh, but they loved her. There's all these altars in the Bible. Jeremiah talks about it because they're all Yahwist, dedicated to Asherah. And he's upset that they're not, what no, Yahweh's the one you want to be worshiping. You don't want to be worshiping these other gods. But when civilization gets started, you look at the king's list, right, in the Sumerian king's list, and you look at the king's list of the Egyptians, and you see that these beings are ruling for 200,000 years. 100, you can't be human and rule that long, right? So then they have children. They have hybrid children. So they back off. They leave the earth. They go underground. They back off. So they leave these rules. They leave the people under their sons. It was usually sons. So now you got hybrid children ruling. Okay? Then when they start to leave, they appoint priests, Samuel, Moses, a lot of these prophets and what have you. And how do you think human beings are going to rule? They're going to rule the same way they saw the gods rule.
Right.
So some of these people were benevolent and they ruled justly. They were good kings. And some of them were tyrants because power, when you get a little power, what's the old saying? The higher a monkey climbs, the more he shows us you know what. Yeah. And so these beings, I'm a clergy person. You can trace this all the way back. We became the spokesperson for the gods. We became the anointed ones. We became the ones with all the answers. So you have to go through me to get to. So you have a hierarchy, which is what you're speaking of. Mm-hmm. So you have, and you have the gods at the top until the Hebrews came. Then you had one God. You had God, the emperor or king. You had all the high priests and the ministers and the military and what have you. And then you had the everyday people. So we have that hierarchy today. So when in the 6th and 7th century, when they were rewriting the Old Testament, King Hezekiah and his grandson Josiah, they were Yahwists. They didn't want you worshiping other people. We'll tell you what's fake news. We'll tell you you don't need these other gods. Yahweh said, I don't even want you to depict these. I don't want any paintings. I don't want any statues, because there were other gods. The good thing is that civilization got jump started. Asherah, taught how to make beer, what plants were good for you, what plants were poisonous, those types of things. But now you got land. This is land. So when you got someone ruling over land, Michael, you're the king now. We're going back up on the ship. We're leaving it to you. You're running it. Here's a little Ark of the Covenant. Call us if you need us. So now you got a king. You got land. Later on, you get a banking system. You start learning how to do agriculture, those types of things. But guess what? Now you got land, so now you got people who don't have land. Now you get a banking system, but now you got people who don't who don't have the resources. So you see how these hierarchies of power come. Mm-hmm. And you have this pyramid structure, which we have today. The Romans had it. There was the gods, and some of the Roman emperors were considered gods, so they could trace their lineage back. Then you had one God or a pantheon, one emperor, one temple, one high priest. You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why would they do that? Simple, because it's easier to rule.
Yeah.
It's easier to rule. I can't rule you if you're worshiping all these other gods or paying tribute to these other gods. There's one king, me, or there's one emperor. There's one high priest. There's one temple. It's in Jerusalem. You come pay your taxes there. And you see how this model of power has come all the way down to modern times. Where do we know how to make warfare with each other? I used to hate to hear that when I was on podcasts or with other people, because to me, it made it seem like human beings, the devil made me do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me. I learned this from the extraterrestrials made me do it. But as I started doing more research and just listening, I had to say, you know what, these brothers and sisters may be right, because we were fighting, we were picking sides, or either we were told who we would fight for. When you look at the Hindu scriptures, these gods are fighting among themselves, but who's fighting with them? Human beings. You see it in the Bible. Abraham, Samuel, Saul, they're fighting with Yahweh. And
Wow.
if you didn't, there'd be hell to pay, because these people fought among themselves. But again, before you ask your next question, that's not the entire story. When we get into angels and these messengers and stuff, some of them came and helped us out. Some of them came and showed us how to do things. When you look at indigenous cultures, if you look at the Popol Vuh, the Mayan book, the Popol Vuh, um, they talk about these beings. Again, some of the beings wanted us to see where Project Earth was going to go. Let's see what human beings are going to do. And some of us just wanted to keep us as just good help, which is Enki and Allele and the Sumerian. So, with the gold, let's get the gold. They need to repair their atmosphere, that kind of thing. And uh, uh, there's a section of the Popol Vuh when the gods are saying these beings, they are noisy, they breed like rabbits. That's basically what they were saying. We need to do something about these folks. And what they do is they get in their ships and they spray a mist over the earth. Sound familiar? And it
Right.
kind of dumbs us down. Kind of dumbs us down a little bit. So in order to look at the future, we've got to look at the past. Not be stuck in the past, but we have to learn. We have to learn from it. Our ancestors were trying to tell us this. They were trying to tell us to look out for hidden hands in your government. Look out for hidden hands in your foreign policy. Look out for when I was in the when you were introducing everybody, this is the thing I was looking for, so I can give people more chapters and verses. If you look in 1 Kings 22, not now, but if you got pens and paper, 13 to 18, there's a prophet, Micaiah, not Micah, who says, "What does the Lord require of you to do justice, love mercy, walk humbly?" Not him. He remote views, that's the word we would use today, a heavenly council. This is 1 Kings 22, verses 13 to 28. And it's called a heavenly council. I call it a galactic federation, but they're all sitting around. And they're trying, Yahweh or the Lord is trying to start a war. And a spirit comes up. They don't say it's an angel. They say a spirit says, I can start this war by putting a lie into the mouth of one of the prophets. And the Lord, whoever's the head of this council says, make it so. Well, I was not taught to look at the Bible like that. I was not taught that. If you look at Deuteronomy 32:8, Yahweh, it says there that these gods are given land. Yahweh gets the tribe of Jacob. The trouble with what Yahweh got was that, when you get the land, you get the people on it. But Yahweh doesn't have any land, which is why he goes into the land of Canaan and other places and he takes land. What kind of God needs human beings to take land for them?
Right.
You don't have to be a biblical scholar to figure that out. And Yahweh doesn't get all of the Hebrew people. In 32:8, he gets the lineage of Jacob. Because remember, these tribes were fighting among themselves. The Hittites, the Amorites. They were fighting among themselves because they had different gods. They had Baal. They had Chemosh. They had Asherah. They had Dagon. These are all extraterrestrials. If you look at Daniel 10, verse 13, an angel comes to Daniel and he says, I'm late. It took me 3 weeks to get here because I was battling with the king of Persia, who was probably an extraterrestrial. I had to wait for Michael, the angel Michael. I had to wait for Michael to come before I could get to you. It's right there in Daniel 10:13. Do these sound like gods to you? A god to you? He said it took me 21 days. They're fighting among themselves over Project Earth.
Yeah, so I wanted to know because are
Stop me,
there
brother, because I talk. I
no,
talk
and
too much.
I need you to talk because I need to absorb this, and I'm writing down the scriptures that you're mentioning too as well. Um, is there a reference? Is there a point in time? Because it sounds like the interactions that are mentioned are recollections of these things from outside of here, from some other place, coming here, and then the story is being told. But is there a mention that because you have some people out there that make the claim that we are them, they are us, and we're like one and the same. So uh, is there a point where it's referencing that whatever someone considers God, this higher power, that we're all up under that, or are these things belonging to a separate, hierarchy as far as it goes when we talk about the highest power, right? Are we all under the one highest power, or is there some sort of division there? Like, because every time when I'm reading these other scriptures that I have listed, it mentioned, like, for this one, and maybe I'm just reading this one wrong, but this one is, and maybe it's not even referring to it, but it's Ephesians 2:19, where it says, "Consequently, you are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people and also members of His household."
Well, you're
And
talking thousands of years later when you get to Ephesians, man.
okay, okay,
Okay, you're talking. I'm looking at what you said, but see, you want to put it in context. I'm looking at 2:13. I'm looking at the Aramaic translation. But now through Jesus Christ, you who sometimes were far off are brought near by the blood of Christ. Is that what you're looking at? I mean, you probably got a different translation, but let's deal with your question. Um, we don't get an idea of God the way you're talking about it until Acts 17, when Paul is talking to a non-religious audience in Athens. He's talking to a Greek-speaking audience, and he defines God as where we live, where we move, and where we have our being. Now that's Platonic thought, but that is thousands of years later. And what you notice about that is that he's not talking about a Santa Claus up in the sky. It's kind of abstract. God is where we live and move and have our being. Like this energy is all around us. But you don't get that till centuries later. Even if you go to Ephesians 6:13, where all the Christians like to talk about, now I'm reading the Aramaic, but it says, you put on, I'm going to 11 through 12, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For your conflict is not only with flesh and blood. So it's not only with flesh and blood beings, because remember, some of these beings are flesh and blood, but the conflict is with angels, with powers, with the rulers of this world of darkness, and with the evil spirits under the heavens. So they're even saying there that there's so much life out there. They're angels, they're spirits, they're human beings, flesh and blood. Some of these angels are flesh and blood too, because Sarah and Abraham feed them in the Genesis story. So they're telling you it's a whole bunch of folk out there that we're dealing with. Evil spirits in the heavens, flesh and blood, angels with other powers. So our ancestors knew that the universe was teeming with life. Yeah. And I mean, it's right there. When I was mentioning before, we were, 1 Kings 22:13-28. Micaiah remote views a heavenly council. I mentioned that, and they want a false flag operation in Hebrew in foreign policy. Could be Yahweh, they say the Lord, but you just put Elohim. But remember, Yahweh wasn't Elohim. So, and if you read it, Micaiah says a spirit steps forth. Doesn't say an angel. This could have been an energy being. He doesn't say an angel. He doesn't say a demon. He just says a spirit steps, because the council, whoever's heading the council says, who's going to go down and make this happen so we can start this war? These false flags that we have today. And he writes a spirit steps forth because he's seeing this. He's remote viewing this. He's not there in the council. He's not with the Federation. He's seeing this. And he says a spirit steps forth and says, I will put a lie in the mouth of this prophet. So you got beings being manipulative, right? You've got beings who are, maybe it's what we call an archon. Maybe it's an energy being. Maybe it's invisible. But it is a live intelligence who says, I'll do it. Send me down. I'll take care of it. And they say, make it so.
Yeah, there's a lot of different viewpoints on, and especially when we talked originally the first time on how the viewpoint of those within religion is pretty important right now, trying to understand how it is that they view us being visited by extraterrestrials. And that's kind of why we're going over what we're going over today, because those things end up being referenced. So I guess in this next hour, we can try to see, because I want to try to paint the picture of why. So when it comes down to disclosure, in the moment that we run into this, looking back in these scriptures, why it is going to be either okay, and this, religion will ride the wave with us, or versus, I guess there's a segment that looks at this still as something that isn't explainable by the Bible, I guess. And I guess I can clarify that when I ask you the question in hour two.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about that.
I'll ask you that. So what we're going to do real quick here is we're going to pause for the cause, take our first break of the night, and then we'll be right back with Reverend Michael Carter. So you guys hang tight, and we'll be right back. Get your questions ready, too. We'll be right back. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. After hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, and we're welcoming back our fantastic guest, Reverend Michael J. Carter. Um, real quick though, before we jump back into this, I just want to talk to the space travelers real quick. You're already space travelers. Go ahead to consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join our SOR Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. And for the audience members out there, real quick, and I saved this comment here because I thought it was funny, and you were in the middle of talking, but we had this message that popped up, says, who has better chin hair, Reverend Michael or Sweet Robbie G? And everybody out there, I think, thinks I put that message out there. That was Dave Scott, guys. So Dave Scott put this message in the chat, put that poll out there. So just so you know, Dave is out there lurking tonight. And so Mr. Dave Scott wanted to know who had the better chin hair. I'm going to give it to Reverend Michael Carter because he's got the distinguished salt and pepper look going there. And, I just have I don't know what you want to call it.
Hey, brother, look, it's not a competition. It's not a competition. Well, you're a handsome man. We move on.
No, there we go.
You're
So
a handsome man.
With that being said, I asked right before we went to break, I was trying to articulate what it was I was saying. So, so we had the outlook from the outside when the question is posed about how those within religion either are accepting or not accepting what it is, the revelations that we're going through now. So you have, for instance, I guess Catholics who have always, I guess, been in on the idea that what we're going over today, the scriptures, definitely outline and point to, the possibility of these things being mentioned and being inclusive in everything that's considered under a God or a higher power. But then you have, at the same time, and I'm not sure which religion this is, but there's a subset of religion that is saying no, aliens aren't a part of anything that's within the Bible. What we're seeing here, or we're seeing demons, right? So how is it that they're reading the same scriptures? How is their interpretation so different from what the Catholics are saying, being so open to what it is we're talking about today?
Listen, listen. You and I could be walking down the street and we see an accident, and we would see that accident in very different ways. When people can read, well, first of all, they may not be using a really, really good Bible. The New Jerusalem Interlinear is a good Bible. RSVP. See, the Bibles that are sold to families are different than Bibles that are sold to scholars. You're reading very different Bibles. And so you're getting different translations. New Jerusalem Bible, what I like about that Bible is it will say, if in a footnote, well, this is the wrong translation, or we really don't know what that word means. But you can't read the King James. You can't be reading these other Bibles because they make everybody sound like they're in a Shakespearean play, number one, and then the worst translations you can have. That's number one. You don't have time to go out and get a crash course in Hebrew or Aramaic. I forgot a lot of the Hebrew, but I know enough. But what I'm saying is you don't have to even know the Hebrew. All you have to do is you have to learn that where Elohim is the oldest word there, and Elohim is plural. That's number one. Number two is don't get into the translations. Just watch read. Just let it stay there and read what happens in the text. You don't have to transfer. If you see the Lord told so-and-so to go into here and slaughter those people, you don't have to know any language. You have to go, what? This is the God I'm supposed to worship? You know what I'm saying? That's all you really have to do to get that, because you're going to argue with people about translations and it's not going to make sense and you're not going to change people. There are people in our government who don't want disclosure because their theological perspective is that these are demons. Okay? There are people in government who want the disclosure because they may say, no, they're not all demons. You're not going to really change that. People read the scriptures. It helps if you know a language, and I'm putting this in a context. But for what we're talking about ancient astronauts, even if you don't know, when someone says, man, I'm seeing flying chariots, I was looking in reading the works of Josephus the other day, preparing for this show, and you read chapter 6 in the work of Josephus, book 5, and he's saying at the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD, 70 years after the crucifixion of Yeshua, there were flying chariots over the skies in Jerusalem. Okay? When you go read about the story of Europa, they talk about there was a statue to Zeus and it had horses with wings on it, and Zeus was in the chariot. Ray Charles can see that these people are trying to tell you that these beings flew. I don't care if you are evangelical. Now, I think it's progress. When I was talking about this 25 years ago, people told me to stand down. And my evangelical brothers and sisters said, that's blasphemy, that's heresy, you're a nut. Now, what a difference 25 years makes. They say, okay, Reverend Carter, you got a point, but they're demons. Well, okay, I'm just thankful that at least you got it. And some of them behave like that. But surely the angel who came to Elizabeth, Miriam's cousin, John the Baptist's mom, that wasn't a demon. Surely the person who came to Miriam and said, you're blessed by God, surely that's not a demon. Surely the angel who releases Peter from prison is, come on, man. Now, the Catholic Church has done some things, haven't we all, that it should be ashamed of themselves. Okay? Well, we all have. Okay. But in 2009, Pope Benedict XVI, and I'm not Catholic, I'm always fascinated how the workings of that church that lasted all this time, he said that we shouldn't be surprised that there are extraterrestrials in the Bible. I'm like, what? 400 years, you were burning people at 400 years ago, you were burning people at the stake for saying that. So now they're just saying God was a little busier than we thought. And so you shouldn't be surprised. Then you got the late, I raised an eyebrow. Then you got the late exorcist, Corrado Balducci. He came out and said, people, experiencers who are saying that they have seen these beings, they're not psychotic, they're not mentally disturbed, they're not seeing demons, and we need to take it. This is the Catholic Church saying this in 2009. I think 2008 or 2009, Pope Benedict, conservative, said that you should not use the name of Yahweh. Yahweh is not a Christian name. Okay. Now, I thought people would say, what are you talking about? Nobody said anything. And now first I said, well, it's not a Hebrew name. I mean, it's not a Christian name, it's a Hebrew name. But it's really not a Hebrew name because it was even before, this was before Hebrew was a language. But what he was saying is that this is not a God the way we look at God. The Catholic Church said this. This is disclosure. That's called disclosure. Now, I argue that we're in disclosure now. It's just nobody, no emperor, I don't care whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever's going to be emperor, RFK. I don't know. But nobody's going to come out on the White House lawn and say, folks, let me tell you, we've been lying to you for 70 plus years. Not only have we been lying to you, we've been in contact with these people for millennia. And I'm sorry to tell you, some people lost their lives. We had to liquidate some people because they knew too much. Who's going to say that? By the way, Eisenhower may have signed a treaty with these folks, but that's treason. That's treason. Who's going to say that? Right. And risk their political careers. Now, what we could do is we could do what Brother Tutu and Mandela and those folks did after apartheid. We could have a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And if there's any government people up tonight listening to this, I don't have to get credit for it. But if we want to get truth, we can say, look, things happened. We can't change that. But we're not going to take your retirement. We're not going to take your tenure as long as you give us the truth. Come forward with what you know. It worked in South Africa because otherwise, I don't trust my government to give me disclosure when they've been lying to me all these years. It doesn't make sense. We're asking the same people who've been lying to us to give me disclosure. Right now, I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Right now, the only people talking about this are the military, but they're only looking at it from a tech point of view and national security. I get that. That's what their job is. But there are experiencers out here who could bring another voice to the table, more about ecological awareness, what we're doing to the planet, more about that we're probably going to need a spiritual change that's going to transcend religion. Otherwise, we're going to kill each other. But we're not looking at that. We're just saying, we're whistleblowers, we're going to shut down. We're going to keep everything a secret. We don't want China getting this tech. They probably have it. We don't want Russia. They probably have it. We know we have it. We know Israel has it. They're looking at it from this archaic way, and we're going to blow ourselves up. Unless Plato was right. So before we blow ourselves up, we're going to get hit by a meteor, or there's going to be some type of ecological disaster, which probably happens, like he says, every 5,000-6,000 years. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. There are beings high in the shed. Hold on. Christmas 2020. You got me started, but I'm going to hold back. Brigadier General Chaim Mashed for 27 years. He was Israel's chief of space security. Okay, 27 years.
Yeah.
He said that we have been in contact with these civilizations for 70 plus years. So if you do the math, where does that take you to? Eisenhower and Truman.
Right.
He says that there is a galactic federation. He says that there are bases on Mars and the moon. And no one locked him up. No one sedated him. No one put him in a loony bin. He said that there are extraterrestrials who don't want disclosure until we are advanced enough technology. They didn't say conscious-wise. I wish they had. But he has said this. There are extraterrestrials who don't want us to have disclosure as yet. Edgar Mitchell was arguing that we should have disclosure. Paul Hellyer, who was the brother who retired, the French head of their CIA, Alain Juliet, was saying this. This is disclosure. Hector Elizondo's talking about it now. Brother Grush came out and talked about it now. Jacques Vallée. That's disclosure. They're telling you, I've been working on this, the infrastructure. I've been back engineering. Nobody locked them up. Nobody locked them up. But we want it to happen a certain way. It's coming out drip by drip by drip. Of course it would. But no one's going to get out there and say, hey, man, because people died, man.
Right.
People knew too much. They got hurt. They're not going to talk about Eisenhower. Look, in 2008, Dmitry Medvedev, he's one of Putin's thugs. He was chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation on a hot mic, 2008, on a hot mic. He said that each prime minister of Russia gets a dossier detailing the spacefaring civilizations we're in contact with.
Wow.
Nobody locked him up. Putin didn't say, "Are you crazy?" No, it just went on. Nobody paid attention to it. Okay, Christopher Mellon's trying to do stuff now. Hector Elizondo is. That's called disclosure. For the Pope to come out and say, for Baladucci to come out and say, for the brother of Funes, he was the head of the Vatican, I think, observatory. He came out and said, in order for these priests to come out and say this, the Pope had to say, "Go on. You can't just say that after you sign all these security and non-disclosure things." That's called disclosure. It's just not happening the way we want it to happen, and you can't expect it to. But that's called Gary Nolan. I mean, he's pretty much come out and said, he's working on these projects. He's working. That's disclosure.
Right.
But because it's not happening the way we want it to happen. And listen, Steve Bassett and those brothers who do that, yeah, I'm with you. That's fine. I'm not trying to knock them. They're trying to do it in a different way, where we want them to come out and say, "Yes, we've been lying." I don't know. Eric Davis, the American physicist, he's working with the Pentagon. He's talking about he's back engineering stuff. I mean, how plain do you want it? How plain do you want it? They're not going to come out and say it, but these things, these are not accidents. These are not accidents.
Yeah.
Paul Hellyer, the late Paul Hellyer, the brother, he was in Canada, the politician there. He died. He said, we've been in touch with all these civilizations and that some of them are still here. These are high-ranking political officials. Right. It's not Michael Carter. Michael, we saw you in Ancient Aliens. Tell us about it. No, these are people who have juice.
Right.
And nobody got locked up. Nobody got poisoned. Nobody had to go into a shift and talk. It was okay.
Right.
All right. You said it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be okay, and that's the point of that, right? But we had you were talking a moment ago, and I had a question from an audience member. You had mentioned Plato. Montauk is Strange submitted this question and said, Dr. Reverend Carter, what do you think of the Rishat structure versus Plato's checklist of Atlantis details?
I will say I haven't seen the Rishat structure, but I will look it up probably tomorrow because tonight is getting kind of late. But I've always believed Plato. I've always just intuitively believed that this civilization existed, along with many others who have come and gone. And some of them are underwater, some of them are under the earth, maybe some of them are under the ice. But what we're finding out with Göbekli Tepe and other archaeological sites, that there were many civilizations before ours that come and go, which is pretty humbling because we think so much of our empire today. But thank you for letting me know about that. But I'm in my heart of hearts, I believe that Plato got the information from the Egyptians, and they were telling what they knew about this continent of Atlantis that was highly advanced, that was probably inhabited by off-world intelligences as well as humans.
Yeah, and Montauk is Strange agrees with you 100% on that. I was going to say,
It's a great question.
if you looking out into from our perspective, looking outwards, obviously our perspective is that everything that we see created, everything even out in the universe, is a product of this higher power, who whatever you may want to call it. Do you feel like, and obviously you wouldn't know for sure, but would you feel like religion translates across the galaxy, across the solar system? Do you think
No,
that
it doesn't.
it
It
doesn't
doesn't. It
apply?
doesn't.
Okay.
No, no, because if you read Billy Meyer stuff or even well, a lot of Billy Meyer stuff, but they think the Palladians think it's all superstition. They don't believe in a Trinity. And I'm talking about Western thought now, because there's many different perspectives, and they see that religion can. Well, you can look at the planet and see what religion's doing. If you look at Ukraine, if you look at what's going on in Israel and Gaza, all those people worship Yahweh, man.
Yeah.
They all worship a warrior god. So, it's always about revenge. It's about, and I'm not saying there's easy, I'm not with the UN. I'm not saying they're easy answers, but those, when you worship a God who says an eye for an eye, then you're going to have that kind of stuff.
Right.
When, and this is what I was saying earlier, we fight over land. We fight over for power. My experience has been that people don't want to fight. It's the leaders who want to fight. I remember when I was in Jerusalem back in the 90s for vacation, and I saw Palestinian people getting along. I saw intermarriage. I was at a couple bars carrying on with people who were Arab in Israel. We were drinking and laughing and lollygagging. Those people want peace. It's the leaders who put us in the middle. Well, where'd you learn that from? The gods. The gods, because we were fighting wars for and with the gods. What's that World War I story where that Christmas, I forget it, but it's a very famous true story where the Germans were fighting the British, and these working class Germans and British, they didn't want to kill each other. So on Christmas night, they went out, they smoked cigarettes, they probably had a little alcohol, they played soccer, they had Christmas carols. But the leaders said that will never, ever, ever happen again. Sort of like Enoch. That's the problem, you know what I mean? Sort of. And the next day they were killing each other wholesale. The people wanted peace.
Right.
It's the leaders. For whatever reason, for false flags, as we saw with the prophet Micaiah. We want what we want.
Right. Yeah, I've always said that if you left up to the people to make the decision and said, "Hey, do we need nuclear weapons?" Chances are the answer is no. So yeah, I mean, there's this small group of people who have that warmongering, power hungry sort of approach to, or perspective rather, of what it is going on here, or approach as well, because that's how they apply. Try to answer any of the questions out there using force and that whole mindset. But I had a question here actually for let's see, President Zaddy, and I wanted, I guess you'll answer this. I'll just ask you: Is heaven a planet? And then I'll probably take that a little further in what do you consider or think of heaven to be? Is heaven a location? Is there, in the way that we think of a heaven and hell, do those two things apply in your view of religion? And I don't know if you can answer that.
The short answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if heaven is a planet. It may be another dimension.
Right.
It may be another planet. I don't know. Um, I wish I knew, but I don't know. I'll find out. I don't have any past life memories of it. I would think that heaven is probably you vibrate on a different frequency, and that it's probably a different. And the only reason I say that is that if we look at NDEs, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences. What's always fascinating to me is that if a Hindu dies, they see Krishna. If a Christian dies, they see Jesus. If a Muslim dies, they see Muhammad. If a Buddhist dies, they say Buddha.
Right.
If an atheist dies, they go down the tunnel. I mean, we all go through this tunnel, and if you live and you come back. So it's interesting that your belief system influences what you see.
True.
It's just interesting. I'm not saying that's gospel truth, but these are scientific studies and tests that have done. But I don't know if heaven is a planet.
So, my view of it, and I feel like, and I'll tell you why. I feel like when we talk about heaven, I consider heaven as the heavens, is what they speak of. Everything that we see out there. So the whole, potentially dark matter, space, like the energy that propels the universe, like everything we see out there is what I consider to be the heavens, because then it makes sense that when they say that God created the heavens and everything in it would include solar systems, galaxies, planets, living beings on whatever planet this may be. I'm one that feels like that everything we see out there is under a creator or a group of creators, however you want to look at that. But then when I think about that, then I say, okay, then what if that's the case? Then what could be perceived as hell then, right? Because that's kind of where I get stuck at. So I don't know if you have anything that you could add to help me work through that, because I'm just trying to figure out for myself, when we talk about heaven as being this place that everyone wants to go or should want to go, versus a hell, purgatory or whatever, somewhere where you can be cast off to burn in the eternal fire of flame. Like, what would make sense as far as a hell? What would, if we looked around and we tried to perceive what a hell was, is there anything that you could put to that?
No, see, I think what you're doing is there's a wonderful book called The Origin of Satan by scholar Elaine Pagels, where she gets into this in more depth. It's not
Okay.
UFO related. But I think what's happening is you're looking for one answer to serve all. And that's why I gave the example of different people having different experiences, because I don't know if there is one. What I hear you saying is, can you give us a definition of hell that's going to be universal? And I can't, because studies have shown that it may be different for everybody. Some people don't experience a hell at all. Some people say we're living in hell here. Some people say hell is between our ears. And so I think it's a different experience. So what you're saying, this will give you, Elaine's book will give you a kind of history of how that concept came about. But you have to decide for yourself and see, with this all this information, when Jesus was crucified, and he uses the word Gehenna before he dies, about this is the burning fires of hell. But that was a long time ago. He could have been speaking figuratively. You have to. This is the thing. And that's why I can say I don't know, because I don't know. And that's, I'm not going to sit up here and BS you. I can speculate. But the thing with living in a populated universe, now that you know that we are not alone, you, and not just you, brother, but you, me, you have to figure out, what is God? What does that mean to me? Mm-hmm. Is there a God? And a lot of people don't want to take that journey. It's mind-bending. It's awe-inspiring, but it's heavy. But they want someone to tell them, this is what it is. And the beauty and the curse of this information is that, especially around God, which is why maybe our leaders don't want to talk about it because it's no easy answers, and religion has been used to control people, is that you get to say, in my experience, this is what God is. This is how the universe works. Because up until the time in Western thought, we were worshiping Yahweh, Jesus comes along and he says, no, 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 there's another way to look at this. My father's not like that. So you got to choose. Okay, well, and some people didn't want to choose. Okay, now I've been worshiping Yahweh, and you come along with this. You start in trouble. You know what I mean? And so you're being encouraged to say, well, there's another way to look at this. The question you asked, it's better to read a book about it because the church has used hell as a way to keep people in line. Elaine Pagels talks about the trajectory of how that came about and Satan and that kind of thing. And then you study and you come up to say, well, this is what I think. I don't particularly personally believe in a hell.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was used as a way to keep people in line. There was, a physical place where you threw your trash and your rubbish and you threw your bodies and stuff like that. But I don't believe in a hell. But what I do believe is that there are different dimensions of existence where your mindset is going to influence, because thought creates our reality. And if you believe in a hell, you will create that.
Okay.
I don't believe in a loving God who would barbecue you for eternity because of something you did or something your ancestors did, like Yahweh. Well, this sin is going to be visited on the seventh generation. Why? They didn't do anything. But that's me. That's me.
Yeah, no, and you make perfect sense. Because yeah, I mean, I've also obviously had my dealings with religion throughout life, and my grandmother was from a Christian background.
Yeah, so is mine.
She hated any time, but I was one growing up that I would go to different type of churches depending on what friend I was with. So I've been to Baptist. I mean, and she would be furious with me that I would go out and try these different
Yeah,
churches. And a thing, so I used to question that, and kind of it made me look at things within religion, like why are there different teams almost.
yeah,
And then certain religions that I was ended up visiting, they were like cult like mentalities, and the whole outlook, like they would believe something that the other religion didn't, and it just confused me to a point to where I had to step back from religion as a whole and kind of just look at the bigger picture. So for me,
yes,
I look at the Bible as a book of metaphors, and the situations to get you through life. And I think that, but I don't think that I don't think that the words that you read there are literal words, which is why, or literal examples of what they're describing. So, with that being said, I feel like anywhere you can be, anywhere you are, is church for you. You don't necessarily have to attend a church. Church is within you. God is within you, and wherever you are. So that's why I ask, because I myself am going through a phase in my life where I want to know where these things really come into play. Where do these things connect? How do they tie into when you set religion aside and just live your normal life daily without thinking about religion? How do these things actually interface? And that's kind of why I wanted to have this conversation today. And you've been awesome, explaining what these scriptures mean. And I think one thing I did take away from this is you mentioned like the King James version of the Bible, which is really pretty much the only one that I've really ever known and looked at. But
yeah. It's
for
beautiful, but
it
it's not
is right. And then, like you said, the explanations could be so different depending on the version that you get, the translation. And so, that's just like you said, it's just another thing that you kind of got to think about. What Bible is it that you read from?
There's several, but the New Jerusalem Interlinear Bible, you can get it on Amazon. It's about $30. It's a Hebrew English translation, but they go into, they will give you in the footnotes, they will tell you this is inaccurate. We're not sure, but you have to remember, you want to get a study Bible. You can get the new. This is not bad. You can get. I use this in seminary. It's the New Revised Standard Version. It's called the NRSV. You could get the New American Greek Hebrew Study Bible, English Study Bible. You want to get where you got more translations. Again, the family Bibles are different translations than they are for the scholars Bible that you use in seminary and what have you. I wanted to go back to what you were saying about when you were describing your spiritual journey, because it was
Yes.
very similar to mine, and it's probably very similar to a lot of people who are listening. And the thing is that it's good to see other ways of worship and what have you. But you're right. Jesus talked about the kingdom being within you. Plato talks about and Socrates, all learning is remembering. So there's really nothing new. It's just that's why they didn't charge for their teachings, especially because Plato was very wealthy, but neither did Socrates, because he felt like he was unlocking. All learning is remembering. Our Aboriginal brothers and sisters and Native Americans, nature was the great teacher. You watch how the planets evolve. You watch how animals and other the snake people, the wing people, the bird people, all of creation. They looked at them as people, and that was great because you tried to treat them right. Not that they didn't war and all that, but the bird people, the deer people. There's that connectedness there. The star people, the star nations. The Palladians talked to Billy Meyer. The Palladians, the humanoids who talked to George Adamski. They talked about the interconnectedness of life and that we're all connected. Those are the truths that you find in all religions. We already know the differences. You want to find the truth, but you also want to know that there's some answers to things that you will never get. One thing about Native Americans, not Native Americans, the Sioux, that's one tribe, not all Native Americans, but the Lakota, they call the creator Wonka Tonkin. And Wonka Tonkin is translated as the Great Mystery. And in the West, we have to be certain about everything. We're not taught to live in mystery. We're not taught to say, I don't know. Yes, and we see that people get into trouble ascribing the characteristics to the known and unknowable. And this is true, but it's human to want to do that because words are all we have. Words get in the way, but at the same time, words are all we have. But growing spiritually is part of being able to say I don't know, because any God that you can describe is not God, because while we're in the physical body, the finite can never comprehend the infinite. Now,
Right.
when we get out of the body, then we can go, oh, yeah, I remember that. I live in a fractalized universe. I'm coming from my source. I'm coming back. Let me tell you what happened down here on earth. We can work this through. And that's what happens with religion. So when I get with dysfunctional religion, so when I get an answer, I say, instead of saying, I have found a truth, I say, I found the truth. Now that's trouble.
Right.
Now that's trouble. See, because I got the truth. And if I got it, that means you don't.
Right.
And so maybe you can say, I found a truth, that what works for me is that I get my God, you don't have to use that word, I get my strength and motivation when I'm in nature, when I take off my shoes and walk on the earth, when I feel my connection with the deer people, with the bird people, with the trees, with the all that is. And this sister over here may say, that sounds beautiful, but I get mine from the cathedrals. I get mine from these books here. And that's fine, because they're all leading to the same place. But when I start getting into my way is right, I mean, what you just said about the kingdom is within you. Yeshua said that 2,500 years ago, and you see where he got. That scares
Right.
people.
Right.
I'm not saying don't do it. I agree with you. But that's still scary to people. Most people want someone, whether it's a president, whether it's a priest, I need you to tell me. And we can be there to guide. But to tell you, that's something you're going to have to experience. So people can say, I believe in a God. Other people can say, well, I know there's one. I can't explain it. Maybe I won't use that word, but I know there's something greater than me, and that
Yeah.
I come from it, and that I will go back to it.
Yeah.
But there are other people who'll say, no, Michael, the knee has to bow a certain way. You've got to say these words, and you got to say them this way. That's when we start getting into trouble.
Right. Right.
And we start having wars and rumors of wars. Because if you worship a God that says, we say in our world that genocide is probably the worst crime you can ever do against humanity. But when you see what happened against Sodom and Gomorrah, when you see what Samuel does and tells Saul to do, scorched earth, men, women, children killed, how come it's a crime? It's a high crime now, but it's okay if a God does it.
Right.
How come? How come that's okay? Because we're not getting it that those stories in the Bible, in the Old Testament at least, they're not about a God. They're about an invasion that happened. And our ancestors were trying to tell us that this is how we navigated these situations. And maybe you can learn something from this. Look into your government, look into hidden hands in your government, look into your economics.
Yeah, that's heavy. I mean, that's man. That's why I'm glad we had the conversation. And and a lot of people are afraid in this field to bridge the conversation of religion and how it ties into it's taboo, right? I guess is what it really is for
I
most
love that
people.
word. Yeah, and Brother G, this is the thing you have to remember, and I do too. There are a lot of ministers and there are a lot of people in high places who believe what we believe. Let's stick with ministry for now. That's my field. But they would lose their jobs. They would
Yeah.
lose their pensions. I'm not saying that's right. Everybody has to make a choice. They would lose their tenure if they're a professor because it is a taboo topic. And you have to decide where you're going to go with this. It's a taboo topic. So I don't want to be too judgy around people because I get that. I have a little more leeway, but I don't preach this from my pulpit. I mention UFOs. People see me on TV. They read my books, but I don't mention it in the sense that I don't get up and do a sermon on Sunday morning about it. Why? Well, it's an open secret. I almost lost my job because someone saw me on Ancient Aliens years ago and a big donor, and they wanted to fire me, and they did. I didn't get fired. But my point being is that I would split my church. And why would I want to do that? There would be some people who would say, Reverend Carter's got a point. Or I'm an experiencer too. Reverend Carter's right. And then there will be some people who say, no, he's a nut. And I didn't come to church to hear this. And so why would I do that?
Exactly.
So I'm on these shows. So I do the History Channel. So I do this. So I do that. I'm not denigrating them. I have a little more leeway. I'm in a Unitarian Universalist congregation. All of them don't think this is true either, but most of them do. But I don't have a bishop over me. I don't have a pope. I don't have a diocese where I could lose my livelihood. I could be tried as a heretic and lose my livelihood. So everybody has to measure how much elasticity does my classroom have? Does my congregation have? Because I could lose everything I worked for. And it's taboo. And that's just the way the system is set up. And there are some people who want to keep it secret. We know that. But just to remind the audience that everybody's not in some great conspiracy to hide this, a lot of people just don't have the room, the elasticity to do this without it costing them a lot. Because remember, faith is measured by how much you can repeat the script, how much you can parrot back what you've learned. And we see that through history when people come with a truth, not the truth, but a truth. And we see how they've been treated, sometimes very shabbily.
Yeah, and I'm feeling like having this conversation today, and I knew it was going to be one that walked that line for some people out there, like you just explained here a moment ago here. But I just still feel like it's important to have the conversation.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and I guess I think what it does is it shows some people out there why it's okay to have this conversation, because you can have it and not stand on one side or the other. It could still be a conversation where there's a level of open-mindedness to the interpretation and what's being interpreted. And I think that alone made this conversation something that should be. I think if people watch this would help fuel. I would think that when someone watched this, immediately following this, they would dive into this same conversation. And I think that's a great thing right there.
This is wonderful that you and other podcasters are doing this. We need this. It's heavy, and I want to end on an up note. It's heavy because it's making you. It's like someone saying there's no Santa Claus when you're a kid, or what. And I'm not saying there is no God. I'm just saying it's very, very different than what we thought as some parent up in the sky. Maybe more impersonal, maybe more abstract. Again, because any God that you can know in one sense is not God in some ways. But I want to end. Let's do this. A couple of things.
Yep.
Couple of things. When I told you about Brother Hayam Mashad, the Israeli brigadier general, I got hope from that.
Yes.
I tell you why. He's saying there's a galactic federation. He's saying that there are beings along with human beings who are saying, when we're ready, we will disclose. What I get from that, though, is that Earth is being talked about around the table. Now, one day I want us to be at the table, but we're being discussed. Okay? That gives me hope that it's not just beings who want to keep us, just want our technology. Just want our resources, just want to keep us dumbed down, because that has happened through history. The other thing is this: I look back at Chernobyl, which was not a happy time, but there was a ship that was seen over reactor 4. And there were journalists, thousands of people witnessed this. There were journalists in the crowd. Some people said the ship that was there for hours. Some people say it was only there for 3 minutes. But if reactor 4 had burned down, much of Europe would have been uninhabitable. And whatever that ship did, reactor 4 never melted down. Right. And so to me, that means that there are beings who have been here and interacted with our ancestors for all these many years, and they still care. That we want to see what these human beings are going to do. Maybe their consciousness will change. We don't want to just take everything, their resources and what have you. To me, and I don't think that's low-hanging fruit. I think that that's something to celebrate. Yeah. I also say to people out there, it's okay to wrestle with God if you believe in a God or the same type of God. I know Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. But there's also a phrase, some people said Malcolm said it, but I don't know, but the unexamined faith is not worth having. And, maybe you believe, like Paul said, when I was a child, I thought as a child. Maybe your life is, you see it's a little more complicated now. Maybe it's not as simplistic. And so what you believed 20 years ago may not be what you believe now about how the world worked. And that's good because that's about evolution and we change and we grow. My concept of this intelligence is very different than it was. And it should be because I'm very different.
Right.
And there are ways I can connect. How? Meditation, prayer, walking in nature, being still, reading, studying, many ways to do that. But, people will walk away from this tonight and go, well, go back to the old way. I don't have a dog in the hunt. Whether you read what I said or whatever, I don't care because we all have to find our way. I could be wrong. There's always that possibility. I could be wrong. I'm just saying this is where my research has brought me as an experiencer of many, many years, still suffering from some of the trauma of that because, it's traumatic in some ways, even though I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. We all have to find our way. And there are people out here to help. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Prayer, meditation, nature. You don't have to reinvent in order to connect and to raise our consciousness. Because I believe that's what this is about. It's not just about back engineering and cloaking systems and robots and laser weapons. It's not all about that. It's about how do we change our consciousness. And that's what these teachers came to teach us, whether it's Jesus, I got my pictures of Jesus here, whether it's the Palladians, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Lao Tzu, I have him upstairs, whether it's these star people here. That's what this is about. To learn to love.
Agreed. Awesome stuff. Power packed, powerhouse information that you given here, and you're a reverend, so you have to be able to interpret the scripture the way that you do is appreciated. And I once again, like I said earlier, I think that this conversation definitely moves the needle as far if it just does something as simple as gets people to talk about what we just spoke about. So I do appreciate you coming on in, Reverend. I have a great idea, and I'll talk to you offline about it, somewhere that we can actually go next, another really tough thing to talk about, and I'll send you the information on it if you wouldn't mind coming back at a later time.
Sure. First of all, thank you for what you do. Thank everybody, and my buddy Mark Eddy and other folks who were listening. And thank you for taking the time. out of your night, and hope you have a good week and a good holiday season coming up. We're
Yes,
in
sir.
Lent and Easter
Same,
and Ramadan.
same to you. And where can everybody find you, and where can we get this the
Oh,
latest book?
great. Yeah. Let me get this in. Just shot 2 new episodes of Ancient Aliens, one called The Teacher, one called The Chosen. I guess it'll be out in the next couple of months. I just shot in Boston. There's a show coming out, but I signed a non-disclosure thing. I can tell you it's about experiencers. It's coming out in June on the Discovery Channel. My books are on Amazon.com and Barnes and Nobles. I have a new book. It's a book of sermons. It's not UFO related. Justice, religion, philosophy, race, all those good heavy topics.
Yes.
It's called Enlightenment. It just came out last month in December. It's on Amazon. I'm at Michael JS.Carter at Gmail. I have a fan page, Reverend Michael J. Carter on Facebook. And if you write me, you could also type in Michael JS.Carter. If you write me, I will answer. I forgot about all that stuff. And so check out the books and listen, don't let them take away your joy, man. It's an exciting time to be alive. Reach out to your brothers and sisters. We're not alone, and we never were. There is a source. You know how to tap into that. We can carry on the conversation at another time. It's exciting times to be alive, and just hug your loved ones, love your neighbor. Have a great week.
That is awesome. Awesome way to end it, Reverend Carter. Keep doing God's work. Keep the mission going. We will be talking again soon. Once again, thanks for coming in tonight. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for delivering such a powerful message. And I will be talking to you soon. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great week as well.
Thank you, brother. Send me the link.
I will. Take care.
All right, out.
All right, guys. All right. What can I say? Knew it was going to be. Religion is always one of those subjects which is, a little dicey. Sometimes, as long as you're not trying to just preach your way and your, view and trying to drive people one way or another based on what your thought process is, I think religion can be in the conversation. It can be something that can be talked about, especially when we look at it on the larger stage of how all this thing that we're experiencing with the phenomena may tie into that. You talked about perfect examples of where it showed up throughout history. So we know that this has been a long time thing that's been mentioned, and there is something where these two things intersect. So the Reverend was the perfect person to bring in for this tonight. I think that was power packed. But for you guys, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and get ready to take a pause for the cause as we get ready to jump into our next and final hour. So hour 3 of After Hours. Guys, kick back and relax, and we're going to go ahead and bring it home with hour 3. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number after hour number tres. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G, and let's go ahead and talk real quick about this Reno trip, right? Reno trip is coming up in 4 weeks, 6 week-ish, somewhere in there. It's going to be May 10th through 12th, Reno, Nevada, at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resorts. It's gonna be a fun time, man. I can't wait. Dave has been adding a lot of guests, a lot of speakers, a lot of people that you guys want to see are going to be there at this event. I mean, it's crazy, and we want to see you guys there. So the way it's going down is Friday nights. We are going to do a live show. So Jessica, myself, Dave, we're going to do a 1 hour each, so a 3 hour block live show that'll be streamed on the channel for those who weren't able to make it. And we'll be doing this right in front of all you guys who are there. So this should be fun. As soon as that's over, we're going to go ahead and move on over to the VIP party. It's going to go down. I have no clue. I heard people are going to be singing. I heard there's some great dancers out there, and we're going to just experience what it is that you guys want to do. So we can't wait to meet you. Saturday, what's going to happen is Ghost Hunt with Merle in Virginia City. Then Saturday night, the UFO Skywatch with Melinda Leslie. And then hopefully, like I said before, some CE5 stuff, because we're going to have some CE5 specialists in the building. And maybe we can summon something. Maybe we can bring something into light in front of us. I know there's going to be some psionics cameras on hand that some people are bringing, so maybe you'll get a chance to use one of those. And then I'm sure that once you use one, you're going to want to go and get one for yourself. The prices go as follows: $60 for a regular ticket, and then $100 gets you that same regular ticket plus all the VIP and swag bags. It's going to be awesome. Like I said, we're going to make sure that we all get together. We're going to have breakfast for dinner. And it's because here in America, you can do what you want to do, right? So we're going to invite Dave Scott on over. We're going to get him some pancakes, some flapjacks, whatever you call them, from wherever you're at. Either some French toast. I see Lavera Lucchini said some habanero omelets, things of that nature. Whatever the case, we're ordering Dave breakfast for dinner. It's going to be epic. Bring your cameras. And also, don't forget to go to spacedoutradio.com/shop. Get some of that official Spaced Out swag, because if you get the Dave draws, right, Dave will be there to sign your Dave draws, your Dave Scott draws. Rob G draws are on there too. I will be more than happy to sign your Rob G draws as long as they're not on your person. Let me put the disclaimer out there. We'll sign your SOR draws as long as they're not on your person. But yeah, t-shirts and all those other things, bring them in, and we'll sign anything that you want us to sign. We'll do whatever it is you guys want to do. If you're still there on that Sunday, after we had all that fun Friday and Saturday night, Sunday is just, from what I understand, going to be just a free-for-all day. So anything goes that day. It's totally up to you guys. Maybe, I don't know what we can, it's up to you. So whatever you guys want to do, let us know, and we'll definitely do it. So once again, May 10th through 12th, the SOR fan party, please be there. I would love to meet you. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our hour three here with the guy, the man with the plan. I mean, he's usually here with us on our Sundays, getting into some paranormal talk, and he's known to us here as the paranormal reporter. His name is Travis Mustus. We're going to go ahead and welcome Travis on into the show tonight. Travis Mustus, ladies and gentlemen, how are you, sir?
Ah, yes, it's been good. I've been very good. How about yourself there, Rob?
Man, shoot. Okay, let me break out my violin, my small violin. So I went out to Catalina Island a couple weeks ago and had an awesome time on the cruise. I was out there hanging with my mother for her birthday. It's her first time on the cruise. Yeah, it was her first time. So there was an epic, lovely time with mother all week. We came back, had dinner with her. But as soon as I got back, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back to work here. Then I got sick, man. So I've been sick for the last 7 days, kind of just coming back around this weekend. And so I'm kind of a little in and out, foggy, feeling a little bit weird, but it's all worked out, man. We had a powerhouse show tonight. I don't know if you were able to catch it. We had Reverend Michael Carter here going deep on just the Bible and how the scriptures could be interpreted to show links to extraterrestrials, going all the way back to the beginning. So it was a great show. And then now we get Travis Mustus in hour three to kind of just put the cherry on top for us tonight. I don't know. And I guess that would be, when we talk about the natives, there really isn't technically, as far as I know, and maybe may correct me if I'm wrong. What is like the parallel between religion and then what it is that the natives practice? Is folklore or the old stories, could these be considered like a form of religion, as far as like the same thing, stories being retold about things that happened in old time? How do those things relate to you, like, or do they at all?
Well, for Native spirituality, the outlook on different, I should say, beings that are connected throughout the universe, it's there's a lot of like there'll be a story or there'll be a teaching that's tied to it usually. Um, but like as for stories though, a lot of the legends, like there are some that are just there to entertain, like some funny ones, like joke ones that are kind of kind of get a little kick out of, but it does still give a little bit of a historical look at reality of these creatures or beings that were existing in that time. Like there's a lot about like how the bear lost its tail, and a few other tales that exist out there. And like aside from like what you would hear from like the Thunderbird tales and how it was a protector or a guardian over the land or as such, right? But like for but for us it is like the animals and the energy and the cryptids are all on that universal level, right? So it's all connected. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have, so it sounds like you have some stories that are there, like you stated, just for entertainment and
Yeah.
teaching purposes, essentially, right? So just a
Yeah.
message behind the story
Yeah.
that is meant to teach. Okay,
Yeah, and
so
so like for example, let me just say that there was like there's a teaching of how the bear lost its tail, and it talks about like how the bear was like searching for food during the great long winter, like, and this would be particularly during the ice age. And then the story goes on to tell about how the wolf tricked the bear into using his tail to try to catch fish from an ice hole, but the bear ended up getting stuck there, frozen there, waiting there real long. And the wolf's like, just keep doing that, because the wolf is really using bait and catching fish, right? But here the bear didn't know that and just thought, I'm gonna stick my tail in there, I'll catch a fish, right? So then the ice froze over, and then the bear tugged and pulled and ripped off its tail. And the wolf was like doing that, like he wanted like to trick the bear, and like that was kind of like, that's just a tale, like how the bears changed over time from the ice age, and like how the evolution of that took place and how they no longer have a long tail. So I just figured I'd
So,
mention that.
so let me ask you this, like, because if I had to guess, obviously natives are here first, so I would think that you may find in maybe in the Bibles, different Bibles for different religions, some of those stories that were retold over time that maybe they line up or may have been spoken to, from the natives first and then maybe adapted or adopted into stories that made it into the Bible. Are there any examples of that that you know of that you could point to? Like, for instance, they talk about Ezekiel's will is a famous one that Tim Burchett always keeps bringing up. Are there stories similar to that in native folklore, like to specifically the Ezekiel's will that people talk about all the time?
Yeah, they always say that they would, when the beings come to visit, our star nation comes to pick you up and stuff, that they bring you to the stars, and you'd see the stars and the planets, and like on that level, like they bring you up to the sky, right? And then the sky world, and like a lot of like these places have a crystal building or crystalline structures, and like I said, a lot of these beings are very esoteric, are very powerful with the universe and connection. And like I said, there's a lot of that going on. And then there was also too, like the flood was another one. There was a great flood, and there was a lot of like animals that were trying to help rebuild the land for Turtle Island, and it was like a lot of like the beaver couldn't do it, and a lot of the other like water mammals couldn't do it. So like the only one that was able to do it was like a muskrat, because it was able to dive deep enough and hold its breath long enough. But it ended up dying rebuilding the land and stuff like that. There's like little tales that kind of like talk about this flood that happened around the area, and yeah, just like things like, so like there was that what I noticed in a similarity, if that, if that coincides with anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty big. I mean, because they say that the flood story they find in a lot of different ancient references to a flood-like event. So that's actually pretty interesting. I didn't know and then obviously within the native folklore, it instead of it pertaining to people like it does in the Bible, they use animals, powerful animals that represent certain things. So that's actually pretty interesting. I never heard that aspect of it.
Yeah, there's a deeper story too, and these like mystical, like I said, these time of beings that were existed on the land were very connected, and they were able to talk with the animals, like on a one-to-one, like they were able just to communicate spiritually, and they were very connected with all the plants and the star nations, and the I should say the star woman, she dropped her medicine bundle in the water, and it spread all this creation energy in the water, and all these beings, they started to, I should say, they started to use it and take it down in the deep, and she ended up getting swallowed by it, because she went down to try to get, like, a retrieve her medicine bundle from the waters, and then they ended up taking her, the creatures from the deep. And then there was one warrior there, Wasaki Chuck, and he got very upset about this, so he decided to wage war with the beings of the ocean. So every being that he's seen in the ocean, he would seek revenge and attack these beings of the deep, and so he went to war for many years, and he was very upset, and yeah, it was like one of those stories, like, and then the sea was trying to kind of like it started to rise, because creation was very upset with his actions towards them, and it was like one of those kind of like base tales that happened within that story, right? So you take for what you can get, and but like I said, it was kind of like he was very upset with these beings, because his mother's death or whatever, from these creatures in the deep, I should say.
Mm. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. So I would want to know: are there any other examples that you may be aware of that kind of line up with some of the stories that might be in the Bible?
Yeah. Like the thing is though, like that's pretty much it. Like from what I've looked at, like when it comes to uh, spinning wheels and stuff like that, we always hear about like like those kind of like ships in the skies and stuff like that, and how they would come down and land and in the forests, and people would actually go out and meet them and greet them and stuff. But it's kind of like I said, it's more or less like I said, it's kind of just tied with how it is like right now kind of deal. Like it's not really like I said, like the stories that are about that time are kind of about these people that were very very different from us, and they lived for a lot longer, and they were able to talk with the animals, and like I said, they were on this connected level with all the different kind of beings on this earthly plane, and the universal plane, because they were and like it was kind of like that level. Like the Wasaki Chuck, he had a brother, right, and he was very upset with his brother, and his brother was kind of like a trickster in that sense, and he was able to shapeshift into well, he would shapeshift into creatures and beings, and so Wasaki Chuck was after his brother there, and he was very upset, and so he was searching the land for his brother, and he ended up finding him, and well, he ended up finding a well, he ended how it ended up. The tale was told was he found a pack of wolves, and he ended up living amongst them, and they're like, you can hunt with us until we find your brother. And but usually wolves, when they hunt, they'll hunt like I said, they're a pack, so they'll work together. So Pisaki Chuck had to live next to this other wolf, black wolf, to learn the ways, and eventually a couple of summers went by, a couple of winters went by, and they grew close, and eventually that black wolf turned to him and said, Saki Chuck, I have something to tell you, and I'm sorry I have to say this, but I'm your brother. And he kind of turned back into his brother before me. And he's like, if you still wish to kill me, you can. Like, I'm sorry about what I did, and betrayal to you. And then he's like, oh, you're my brother, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't, I mean, like I didn't know you're this wolf like the whole time, and kind of deal. And he's like, oh, I don't see revenge that way. Like, you're my brother. Like, what I mean? Like, and they ended up being family again or whatever, right? But it's kind of like that in that story, right? Like I said, people were very connected with the animals. They were able to live amongst them. They were very, like I said, they were able to transform and change, and yeah, it's like yeah. So a lot of them are about teaching, and a lot of different tales and stuff like on that sense. When we talk like the stories of the Bible, right? Like that's the similarity I can say. Like it's like that. There's always like a teaching or some sort of lesson to be learned from them, or you'll get a glimpse into that era of that existence or time.
Nice, nice, and that's actually great information. And I kind of want to point something. Thanks, Deb from SAC, for your support of Spaced Out Radio. She was raised by wolves. LOL. Yeah, okay. I can see that. I can see that. Tell Skinny Bob I said what's up. Um, and with that being said, President Zaddy brought something up, and then this is where, because you can, and that's what I said earlier. Whenever religion ends up being a taboo topic, in most cases, not really just within ufology, just in general. But I think there is a way to still have the conversation without forcing your particular belief onto someone else. It's just really discussing the information that's there, and maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't, and it's for anyone's interpretation. And at the end of the day, you can walk away with what you walk away with. With that being said, there's theories, and not really jumping into religion by saying this, but the Adam and Eve thing. So, if you want to look at Adam and Eve on the face of it, The way that it's told is that Adam and Eve were, first Adam and then Eve, first two people created. And so if you want to take it in a literal sense, which once again, I don't look at what's written in the Bible as a literal thing. I think of it as more as a metaphorical thing. So when it comes down to Adam and Eve, for me, uh, and even the ark stories as well. I think those are metaphors for other things. I think Adam and Eve could represent the first generation of humans as we were introduced to this planet, and not saying as far as the first two humans created, period, but just maybe the first group of humans that were introduced here. Then you have the ark, which for me, uh, I feel like it could represent something like us traveling from some other planet, along with life, other species of things that were introduced to this planet. And like I say, it's for anyone's interpretation. So, you were going to say something?
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say what I found interesting about the Adam and Eve story is like the part where they end up getting caught and he's getting like they're getting exiled out of Eden, right? And he's like, but Father, if I go out there, they're gonna kill me. And it's like, who's he referring to, right? Like that's obviously the Outlanders. And then he's like, no, they won't hurt you. No harm will come to you because they will know you're my son. And and it's like, so they were going out there when they got kicked out to go be with like the Outlanders and the other existences at that time. And like you said, I do agree with that, like that they were some form of engineered human beings that were being like kind of like in this like enclosed or kept area for them. But
Yeah. I mean, and it makes sense, and there's reasons why this is the first time that idea has been presented, that the Ark tech could have been a ship that brought us from another planet to here. I mean, if you think about it, technically, once Elon Musk builds this starship or whatever it is that's supposed to take colonize Mars, is that's essentially the same thing. If people who inhabited Mars going forward, if they lost their history the moment that we came over to Mars, then they would probably look at Elon Musk Starship potentially as the new Ark, and would probably be one of the things that were written in the book of Mars or whatever book. You know what I mean? So it's just, I think things get lost in translation, and I think that's been proven because we've seen civilizations get to a certain point of technological advancement and then get knocked down. So you would assume the same thing would happen once we go colonize Mars. If something happens here on Earth that kind of breaks that lineage and that direct historical reference, then there's going to be stories that were told about how we got to Mars. And I think it might end up, if enough time surpassed, then it would probably mimic a lot of the things that people read in the Bible today. So I think that's interesting spin on it. But other than that, I know you've been into or lately you've been able to kind of come through and show us some awesome sightings. Have you had anything lately? Anything in your life that is going on lately that you want us to know about?
yeah, other than like flying, lights or sightings in the skies, whether that be crafts or you name it, star spirits. Um, there's an elder, respectable elder in our area here that was posting online there. Like last night, they're talking about how they're hearing like some large, heavy breathing in the woods behind their house, and I'm like, whoa, okay. Well, maybe I'll get to go check that out here tomorrow because it is my day off now. So like. I've been looking forward to go checking out that and just maybe check and see if I see any tracks or anything out of the unusual there. But yeah, like she is like warning people like, hey, if you're out there tonight, be careful. I hear something breathing. Could be a bear or something wild back there. So, there's that going on.
Let me ask you this. I just remembered this right now, and when I originally, well, I was talking about this on yesterday's show. Actually, let me bring it back up here. It was when I was talking to Evan B. Stone and Jack Vasey. I was talking about during on one of their episodes of their show. They had brought up this cryptid that I had never heard of, and then I was going to ask you if you've heard of it, and then maybe if you have any stories about that within that the natives may tell the elders. This cryptid would be called bear beast. So I guess it's like part bear. It's an upright walking bear. Um, that as far as from what they described, I guess had more human characteristics as far as like the legs. So it wasn't like a bear standing up, but it's like a bear slash something else. Are there any stories that you have that tie into anything that look like that?
Yeah, some of those like ancient bears, like that have long since disappeared, look pretty gnarly looking, I should say, from their oddly shaped stout noses and like just like the brawn muscular structures of these some of these creatures, like the bears, short faced bears, and but like a lot of the elders would say that when we see sometimes these spirit realms or these cryptic beings would come through, they would often have like human physical features, and but they'd be very ghastly looking because whatever dimension or level they've come from, are we're seeing them at, and they're, like I said, it's almost like it's very jarring to us because we're just not used to seeing something on that level. Like I said, their eyes and teeth and facial structures look pretty scary looking, freaky looking, and the dude said there, it's they had a half a body or half human, and the elders would say that like there would be like a half an animal, and then like a sometimes it would like there would be more, it would look like a human body be just coming out of the neck of like a large wolf or something, like, you know what I mean? It was like they were very like different kind of looking beasts that would change around, or like sometimes, like you said, they would stand up, they had legs like human, but they had the body of a bear, like. So there are cases of that, and depending on you know uh what they were encountering, or what it was at that time of the universe, right, for them going on. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of that, and so
Yeah, and I wanted to know also the Patterson Gimlin film is what we were doing yesterday. Is he has this AI that he uses just to just as a tool for himself to kind of type, like same thing that you did with the processing with the embossing of the craft, so you can get the edges. So he uses a AI program that kind of cleans things up a bit and kind of maybe interpret, may even misinterpret, and fills in what it thinks is missing there. And the results were kind of shocking. I wanted him to actually get to one of your UFO videos so he could kind of run it on that, and maybe we'll have him do it next time. But it was pretty awesome, and it was just another, it just shows you how you can take things one step further from maybe you have a little bit of evidence, and then but then you can actually try to post process or do something that might kind of fill in the blanks. But I think the thing with AI is that because it's guessing on what it is it's filling in, that maybe long term, until AI gets better, it may not be the best tool to do that with. But I wanted him to run it also on the other Bigfoot video, the one that they had taken off of the train, but we just didn't have time to do it. Um, in your experience, I know that you've done it sort of with the embossing. Are there other tools out there that you use or might be considering to use on videos going forward, or have you been dabbling with anything behind the scenes?
my I wanted to get my hands on like a at least like some infrared cameras. if I could get that, then that'd be awesome. But I've been buying like security cameras and things like that, so I've been looking to start like hooking those up and aiming them to the sky in certain areas where there's been considered hotspots and things like that, right? And other than that, like it's been just like a process of time in the universe, what's meant to be, like what will happen, right? So I've been just like flowing with that, and whatever device or electronics I can get my hands on at that time, I'll gladly pick it up. So, but for me, what's worked for me was that embossing app, and I guess the videos, just the videos in general are like the best process for doing that at this time. And like I said, it's been a catalog so far of different kind of craft that I've seen, and I'm never, like it's always something new, and always like even the familiar ones that if I do see something similar to it again, I could tell which is like say what is an airplane or what is one of these crafts flying through the air, just by the speed and how dense their light is, and just that energy feel from what you get. And it's like you could see like a progression over time, especially if you're just starting to do it, and if you're very open to that, and just start off like knowing your stars and taking pictures with like because like even a telescope with those aperture sights, that's also another thing that I've used over time to get those kind of photos or videos of the moon and things like that. Mm-hmm. So that's helped me, and so that's
yeah, I think you bring up a good thing to know the stars, know where they're at in the sky. I mean, that's probably step number one, so that you don't mistake a planet for something here. And actually, so I'll bring this up since we had good friend Tom King was here earlier, who had filmed the Phoenix Lights, but the guy has, and maybe I'm gonna talk to him, maybe I'll get him as a guest here, but he has an amazing setup where he has cameras that are just pointed at the sky 24/7. So, and he's catching stuff like you're catching, just as good quality as stuff you're catching. He's I did a show with him on my channel where he kind of lays out all the equipment that he's using. And I mean, he's catching tic tacs in the sky in the middle of the day. He had this one encounter where he's following one that's miles up in the sky, and he draws a line so it shows like the pattern that the object had moved the entire time. And this thing is making all sorts of weird left, right, anomalous turns, and it's something that he catches all the time. I've been under the belief that we should, as a community, if we were going to fund something, that we should fund something like what Tom King has. Imagine if we had 20 Tom Kings around the country that were all filming 24 hours a day, things pointed directly up at the sky. Imagine what type of data we'd be able to take home. And it goes to points credit to you, because you go out there and you catch it just on a fluke. You're not watching the sky 24 hours a day, and you're catching great stuff. So imagine if you had like full-time cameras sitting on top of the roof. You would have proof positive data that would show the world that what's up there is real. And the thing that bothers me about it is that he has all this data, but no one is doing anything with it. So it should be on front page news. Your sightings should be ones that are featured on news stories. And it just amazes me that with all that data there, just from a regular person, that they don't reach down and kind of grab some of that and say, hey, this was something weird that this person caught, even though you didn't catch it on radar, but it's obviously something that isn't, explainable. So just a kind of a rant that I wanted to go on there, because I think it's there has to be a reason why, and it's not just because there's only one set of data point, because I think what you have in your video is weird enough for you to be able to spend some time on it and try to figure out what it is. And then same thing with Tom King. But just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if you have anything to say to that.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally all within the realm for me. Like, to the ancients, these visitors and passerbys in the night were always very much connected to our ancient times and our societies of that ancient world. And for me, I just feel like that's part of that connection and part of that acknowledging of that connection. And just like I said, I think it's all part of the universal path that we're all on. And it's a circle of life, and it's a journey, and we're all learning it together. And so like I said, it's a process, and things happen over time. And like I said, over these last little whiles, I've been just blessed with all these spectacular crafts I was able to witness and see. And to me, that's what I take it as, these blessings, and to see them, and to like I said, to see that or know that's out there.
Okay. All right. Well, here's what I want to do, Travis. I want to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead right now and just thank you for coming in tonight. We got about 15 minutes left in the show, and there's a couple things that I need to do. So once again, I want to thank you for giving us your time here on Sunday to chime in for some conversation. We shall do this again. Hopefully the aliens come and see you between now and next week, so we get some more of those A1 sightings that you capture, man. Outside of that, you got anything you want to say?
Yes, definitely. They're around. Just got to be open to that, and they'll make themselves connect. Like, the connection will be available to make, and thank you everyone for supporting the Mars Bug Wars and all the Pleiadian guidance and the Pleiadian Who Stole Me My Heart and the Fort Sunder book. It's the books, I should say. It's excellent, and thank you so much for having me on the show, Rob. And I'll see you all next week. And like you said, hopefully Star Nation will be around for us to have another great video.
All right, Travis, thanks so much for coming on in, man, and joining us on this fantastic Sunday evening. You get some rest. You have a great rest of your night, man, and we'll talk again soon.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll take.
All right, guys. Travis Moostus, our paranormal reporter, the guy, our Sunday guy, coming in and just having some great conversation, man. Great getting his perspective on the conversation that we had today and how it applies. I mean, I've always heard that there were a lot of the stories that are told within the Bible or have been retold, throughout other civilizations, other religions, other, points in time. And it was pretty cool to hear about the natives' flood story, right? And how, the parallel is that the Bible obviously is speaking is supposed to be retelling the story of events that happened to humans, to specific people, whereas when he explains it as told through native folklore, there's usually, in place of humans, there are powerful animals or entities that fill in for humans. So thought the parallel between those two things is pretty awesome. Was glad we were able to get his viewpoint on that as we cap off this great show tonight. So, and I left this message up on the screen because Brown Dwarf is saying, let's go to the Patty site, Rob G. I'll be up there later this year. I'm with that. Brown Dwarf. Let's set that up. Let me know when you're going, and let's line it up. I know it's in Northern California. I'm not sure exactly where, but we should definitely do that. It would be cool to see if we could find the exact spot where it was taken from, and then kind of maybe recreate the the video, or hopefully even catch something new down there if there's something new to catch. But I don't know how you guys feel about the Patterson Gimlin film. Like we talked about with Evan and Jack yesterday, it's one of those films that are steeped in almost like a religious belief that what was depicted in the video was completely real. And, obviously without being there in person, it's hard to say one way or the other. But I think, if I had to guess, if I had to say, was that real or not? I think I'm still really close to the middle of the road on that. For me, it could go either way. But I would love to visit that location and kind of see, just to kind of get a feel for it. I watched as well a program. I kind of fell asleep on it, actually. Maybe I'll rewatch it. But it listed, there was a video that it shows, about 30-minute video, and it went over some compelling evidence of video of Bigfoot and things like that being caught out in the wild. And there were some of the videos that I saw that I just couldn't, it was like, wow, kind of blew me away. It was like, man, that might be something right there. I would love nothing more than to see evidence of a Bigfoot. Not in person. I wouldn't hopefully like to see it in person, but I would love to see it. You know what I mean? Because I know the possibilities out there. One thing that they hung on that made a lot of sense to me is the differences in the prints that they had been recovering at different sites. And some of them were obvious fakes, but then there were some that made more sense as far as the weight distribution, and I forgot, there's a little area right in the arch of where the human foot would have an arch, and I guess in these Bigfoot they have this God, I don't even know, I'm gonna mess it up trying to even explain it, but it essentially allows for the foot to articulate to where it can, instead of staying flat, it can put itself in a position where it's easier for it to attach to a tree or to contour to a tree. Messing it up. I'm going to have to go back and then next week I'll tell you exactly what it was. But with that being said, let me go ahead and look into the chat here. Let's see. Dad from Sac wants to make out with a Bigfoot? I don't know, Dad from Sac. I don't know if you want to wish that upon yourself. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay. Just general conversation. Let me see if we have anything starred here. We had... Oh, I didn't get to ask this question. Sorry, Montauk is strange. I wanted to ask Travis about this, the Sky Woman. We'll make sure to tag that for the next time he comes in. Dang, I missed that question. So sorry about that, Montauk. Let me see what else we have here. Okay, we have about 8 minutes here, so let's go ahead and run the commercial here. For our Reno trip in our swag store, because we need to do this actually every episode, and we're going to start doing that from this point forward because it's important. We need to let you know about it. So here we go.
Guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com. Shop there today and make yourself look good. Love your woo. It's time to make a commitment to the 3rd annual SOR Fan Party. This time, we're heading to Reno, Nevada and the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort, May 10th through 12th, 2024. Tickets are $60 or $100 for VIP. With that, you get a free radio show. You get to hang out with celebrity guests from Spaced Out Radio, including our team, who are coming to hang out with you. You get to meet the entire team, like Science Bob, Merle, Melinda Leslie, Geraldine Orozco, and more. It's a weekend packed with adventure, and we want you there. After all, we're doing this for you. Find out more and get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com and book your hotels today at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno, Nevada. Come join us for the SOR Fan Party, May 10th through 12th, 2024.
All right. So let's go ahead and also wanted to, while we're here, we might as well take a look at, let me remove this real quick. Take a look at one of the items that you can get from the swag store. And that's going to be, of course, I'm going to promote some of the Rob G stuff, man, because it have to happen, right? The Rob G, the Sweet Robbie Alien shirt, comes in so many different colors. Definitely, this is the one that you want to get. I don't know if I can get any closer to that. Let me see. Oh. Okay. All right, it's the closest you can get. All right, the Rob G Alien Head T-shirts with the After Hours Rob G on there. If you're wearing anything that has the Rob G logo on it, man, let me know. I'm going to bring a pen. I'm going to write whatever you want me to write on that. Let's put it up and let's frame it and let's make it an experience. So anybody but Castle Dude, I know you got the Rob G draws. So we won't be signing those, man. Unless they've never been worn. Then maybe we can definitely go ahead and sign those for you, Castle Dude. But yeah, we got the Rob G merch out there, man. You guys should just definitely go and support the store, spacedoutradio.com/shop. You can get a plethora of stuff, as Dave says. You can get more than this. Let me back out here. As you can see, we have the SOR socks, the tumbler, the SOR UFO tee, the Spaced Out Radio hoodie, the Rob G shirt, the Rob G socks, which you have to get if you get the shirt. You got to get the socks. The Team Rock SOR t-shirt. We got the Tim Senor Alien shirt here. So you definitely got to make sure you represent for old Timmy. Let's see, what else do we have in here? I like the trucker cap, the UFO UAP trucker cap is a nice one. Let's see. Obviously, the Dave Scott panties. You gotta have some Dave Scott panties, right? Dave Scott panties. They're in the store. Definitely consider getting some. The Dave Scott draws, right? The Dave Scott draws. If you don't have any, you got to get a pair. Look at that old mug on the front there. You got to make sure you get the Dave Scott draws because you've got aliens. Funny stuff. You can get that at spacedoutradio.com/shop. Mothman is definitely promoting here. So, okay, wait a minute. I'll mark this for Dave Scott, or he may still be watching. Dave Scott, Dad from Sac says, this is Dad from Sac saying this, we need SOR G-strings and bras. I'm not saying that. Deb from Sac said that, and hey, I agree. I agree, Deb from Sac. It would be cool to have that there. And let's see. What else do we have here? Doug Shelby. Oh, laughing his ass off over there. Waking up the lady. Oh, Doug, I don't know if you want to do that. However, glad we could go ahead and bring some joy to you guys here on this Sunday evening. You guys are getting ready for work. It's going to be a work week. What can you say, right? Monday through Friday. But you got Dave Scott that's going to go ahead and get you through that. And he'll be here 9 p.m. to midnight, Monday through Friday. Paramarv is asking a question. Space Out Radio, why are there different items available in Canada than the U.S.? Ooh, that's a good question. Because I don't know what, I would love to see the Canada store. I don't know if I can see it to know what's not there. If we could figure out what isn't there, then probably could figure out why it isn't there, right? Oh, no, Dead Fish Cheese Spread is going a step further, saying that you need edible underwear. Oh, whoa. I think we're going to, this isn't Victoria's Secret or, but I guess, I don't know. I'll leave that up to Dave. Dave is adding things to the store. I'll make the suggestion on your behalf. How about that? Okay. All right. So with that being said, I think we had fun today, man. I think today was a really good, solid, deep show. I think the topic was on point. I think that, we have showed tonight that you can have the conversation without really subscribing to one side or the other. You know what I mean? And as far as the spirituality of this whole phenomena, still things that we're figuring out, and having these conversations just lets us connect the dots and kind of try to figure out or fill in blanks in different things of that nature. So we will have more shows like this where we get into these deep conversations. I actually already have something thought up that we could speak to the Reverend about that we'll probably set up for the next show. So with that being said, let me go ahead and give it up to our super chatters for tonight that help support the show. We appreciate you, Aloha Dave 13, saying he always learns a ton from Reverend Carter, one of my favorite guests. Definitely is, and which is why he's going to stay in our rotation because I appreciate what it is that he's bringing to the table. I can promise you the next time we talk, it'll be an even tougher conversation, but it's one that will definitely need to be had. So I'll let you kind of ponder on that for a while. Miss Catherine Jones, thanks for your support. Said, thank you for bringing the knowledge. Bless you, Reverend Carter. So all the love tonight. Thank you for your support. Picks with $5 super chat. Thank you so much for your support. And then also Deb from Sacramento. So with that being said, you guys are all space travelers out there. Consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join the Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. We appreciate your support. To all of our viewers and listeners across the globe, thanks for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what's that, you ask, guys? We own the night. You guys have a great rest of your night. Make sure you're here tomorrow, Monday through Friday for Dave Scott. Then back here for the after hours next weekend. It's going to be another action-packed weekend. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep raising the bar. We're going to keep also moving the needle with tough conversations. Make sure you guys are back here for that. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great week, and see you then. Take care.